Morning, Julie.
Morning, Rex.
How you going, all right?
Not too bad. Good to see you.
It's nice to see you too. Folks, this is Julie McAnally, the other half of the famous McAnallys, who have dominated the magazines of in Australian fishing for nearly 3 decades. You've been around a while, haven't you?
Oh, it's starting to feel like it this time of the morning.
Oh, turn it up. Now, tell you what, your new boat Splashdown, I read about it in Modern Fishing magazine. It looks just absolutely sensational. You happy with it?
Very, and I think you'll find it very comfortable when you're aboard.
Well, talking about aboard, what have we got in store today here at Southwest Rocks on the mid-coast of New South Wales?
Well, we're going to start off trolling under the cliffs, see if we can pick up a few tailor. They're just starting at this time of the year.
Yep.
And then we'll head out to Fish Rock after some of the mac tuna, and they can be this big. So I hope you got the right gear there.
This big?
Yep.
Well,
and then we'll go offshore and see if we can get some bottom fish and some bonito.
And then if we've got time, we might build a couple of houses or something.
Yep, in our spare time.
We're going to be busy, folks. Let's go out and fish with a lady. It's mighty nice to be able to do that.
Come aboard, Rex.
Well, thank you very much, Julie.
Now, folks, while we're heading out, let me take you on a quick guided tour. This place is a fisherman's paradise with a caravan park right on the foreshore with magnificent views. It's only a stone's throw from the township of Southwest Rocks, where the Macleay River meets the sea at Trial Bay, named after the shipwreck. Not far from the bustling resort town of Laggers Point, Arracoon on the easterly rim of Trial Bay, are the ruins of Trial Bay Jail. It was originally built to house good conduct prisoners who provided cheap labour to build the breakwater. The project failed, but was reopened in 1915 as a detention centre for German nationals interned in World War I. Anyway, back to more pleasant things, folks. Fishing. The sign says it all, and the McAnallys will make you more than welcome on their boat as well.
I think I've got one of your friends here, Rex.
A mac tuna?
Yep, feels like it, the way it's running.
Beautifully done.
Yeah, taking another one of those rapalas.
Julie, you really enjoy this, don't you?
I do, actually. I get a kick out of it.
Now, you're one of the absolute pioneers, like, I suppose Dolly Dyer accompanied Bob on most of his trips, but you do more than accompany, Laurie. You give more orders than Colonel Schwarzenegger or whatever his name is.
Just call me Captain when you say that and salute.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, I'll certainly salute. Aye, aye, Skipper.
No, we've been fishing together for quite a few years now. I think getting close to probably about 25. So you tend to work together as a team after that period of time. And it's like any part of fishing. When you've got a group of people fishing together, if you don't work as a team, you tend to not land as many fish as you'd like to.
Julie, I've noticed over the years that, you know, it's not now a man's domain, that young girls, even, you know, teenagers are fishing and really enjoying it.
Yeah, and probably the last 10 years particularly, I think, Rex, the number of females that are actually getting into angling is quite incredible. We see it out here on the charter boat. We probably have about a 50-50. Everybody would think, you know, mainly men that turn up to fish, but our percentages, there's at least 50% of them are female, and not even just the younger women. There's also quite a lot of grandmothers we get out here. They have a really good time.
Yeah.
I'll just have to come over there.
Certainly.
I'm using pretty light tackle here, just to have a little bit of fun, which is what fishing's all about.
It is all about fishing. I think one of the first things we've got to really understand for the kids and the newcomers is you can hear that click, 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 click as Jackie turns up the volume a bit. And that is actually the breaking strain of the line telling you that the rod is fully loaded up and the fish wants a bit of line, and he gets it, he or she gets it, I should say, through a properly adjusted drag system. And that's what it is. And remember, folks, as Julie plays this beautiful fish, the fish doesn't break you off, you break the fish off.
That happens a lot, unfortunately, Rex. A lot of people think that the drag system's not sufficient. They've got two real healthy thumbs and they want to go and put it on the reel. And that's a formula for disaster, really. What you've got to do is let the reel do the work. The technology we've got these days, the drag systems are beautiful.
Oh, yeah, just fantastic. And this is probably an area, Julie, where 90% of the fish are lost when there's the client, the customer on board, your magnificent charter boat, sees the fish for the first time and freezes up.
Yeah, a lot of them do panic, particularly if you have a big fish on. They have a look at it and they say, "Oh, I'm never going to land it." And what happens is, as the fish comes a bit closer, he sees the boat and he wants to make a run for it. And straight away the client puts those nice big thumbs on the reel and snap.
Yeah, and then blames the gear.
And blames the gear. The whole secret is, don't rush it, don't panic. The fish is in a lot more trouble than you are.
Now is a very, very important time, folks. There's a beautiful mac tuna. Look at this.
Just lean back there, Rex, so you can grab that trace.
Yeah, I've got him there, look at that. Now that is a beautiful fish. What I do is I hold him upside down, and you find with a lot of bait fish like that, that will just sort of calm them down a bit. I get my pliers there and just get that out. Yeah, I'll get my other, these are actually Greg Newman pliers. They're a long nosed plier. My manager, tell you what, 4 pelicans could stand on his snout there. Well, there you are, Julie.
Thank you, Rex.
Now, Julie, I know that you've just got out of the cot with Laurie, but you wouldn't, would you?
Okay.
Look at that, absolutely magnificent. Julie said when she picked us up at the Kempsey airport, "If you think I'm going to be kissing any fish, big fella, you got another thing coming." Well, we've got it on international television. And here we go. Wagons Ho. Southwest Rocks. Fantastic. These little pelagics, the mac tuna, striped tuna, bonito, frigate mackerel. Very, very good in relation to learning about fishing. Learning how to handle gear. And all marlin and big tuna fishing is an extension of this little fishing. Ambidextrous, folks. Not only that, I can work to the right and I can work to the left. That's better, and Noel's happy there. We've got an offshore breeze. Apparently the southerly here creates an offshore breeze. Professionals working very hard behind me on schools of mac tuna and bonito to gather the bait for the day's fishing so they can take their produce in and supply all of you people who love fishing and also like to buy fresh fish. Noel will be able to pick up the kick of the action on the end of this little charter special rod I'm using. And I'll tell you what, the mac tuna, oh, look at that now. There's a very good example that when he's pulling, you don't pull. You use the rod to load up, and then through a properly adjusted drag, like that, you can allow the fish to take line under the strain of the rod, and that's what tires him out. And he goes around in ever diminishing circles. And look, there is no better example of a beautiful pelagic species than that mac tuna. Look at that. Now he's 3.5 kilos of the best mac tuna you'll probably see. Got me wrong snips there, so I'll go and get me pliers. And I tell you what, come on there, Rexy boy. Get them out there, fat fills. Here they come. We take that one out of there. And I want to get that one over there and just, I won't be kissing this fish, folks. I just want him to swim away. Just like that. We come, we use the environment, but we think about tomorrow. It's a pity I don't sometimes when I get stuck into those biscuits and coffee. But my wife's riding her horse, so she's not watching the show.
They're real big. They may be they're slightly bigger. That could be probably mac tuna, I'd say.
Well, it doesn't really matter, does it?
I'm just trying to work out where I am in relation to you. Oops. I just crossed you up.
What we've got is my lure caught on Julie's line, and what I do is I don't pull. I make sure that Julie has still got control of the fish. So many people snag up other people and pull, and therefore you create a slack for the main line. Now what we've got to ensure is that that fish on the end is still there, which he is, and I'll just, gee whiz, isn't it amazing? I tell you what,
you couldn't do that if you wanted to.
Well, Jeff Wilson couldn't tie this knot here, and he is the best in the business. He is the best in the business, and the best thing is, Fat Phil's pliers. Bang. I tell you what, these eyes, they're not good. And hopefully it just comes out like that. Hang on a minute, that's your line, Julie.
You just cut.
No, that's your line, and I've got the fish. Is that right? I thought you had the fish. Can we roll that again? Sorry, Bob.
We had
Can we
two
roll that
fish.
again? We're in the lee of this island here, and it makes it beautifully calm and sheltered for us. We're hoping to get Julie in here to do a bit of fishing, but as soon as we get a fish, I cut it off on her. Ah, well, it happens, doesn't it? Come on now. Just a lifting, winding technique without being over-aggressive, but we want to also make sure that this fish is not a bad-looking fish. I think I might have a bit of colour now. Where are we? Come on now, mate, he's gone down deep. He only looks tiny down there, but he's got about another 30 or 40 feet coming up, so here we go now. He's coming up nicely. There you go. Look at that. Beautiful mac tuna. A lot bigger than the other one we got. Now that's a very serious bait fish. Look at that. I tell you what, he's about 2.5 kilos of beautiful mac tuna. Look at that fleck I was talking about. And I tell you what, if a big pelagic with a big nose like my manager saw that, in other words a marlin, it would be, thank your mother for the mac tuna. It's great to see the system alive and well. Southwest Rocks, nothing wrong with this place, folks. And you know where it is? In the southwest, I think.
Rex.
I don't know where Stephen Bushy I'll get. They told me they were going to meet me on number 4 island on some big white boat. There's a white boat over there. Hey, they didn't say it was a big white boat, that's a single lady. Come on, mate. We better go and do some fishing. He's here. John Pearce, how are you, mate? G'day, mate. Nice to see you. Bushy.
Hey, John.
Welcome aboard.
Thank you. We're leaving a bit of style behind here, but we're coming into another bit of
You're going to have to come down one class.
Yeah.
One class.
I'll tell you what, John. It's nice to be back on board.
It's good to have you, mate.
I'm here on the real hooker at the Similan Islands off Thailand, and I've caught up again with my old mate John Pearce, who's the skipper and owner of this beautiful vessel. Mate, we're heading out fishing today. You've been telling me about this seamount. What are they catching out there?
Well, we've been lucky enough. We've had a few small black marlin there, certainly some wahoo, schooling yellowfin, and definitely a sailfish.
Sounds pretty good to me. Let's get going.
Good, let's go, mate.
Get some gear ready. About an hour out into the Andaman Sea from the Similan Islands to a seamount, and as the name implies, that's a submerged mountaintop. Comes up out of very deep water to a relatively shallow peak, and it's a prime bit of fish real estate, a fantastic structural element that attracts all sorts of fish. As you can see, we're not alone. That's a local tuna boat that would have shot its purse seine nets last night around a school of yellowfin tuna, and that's what we're here chasing today, yellowfin tuna and wahoo. But Bushy, we've got the bases pretty well covered, haven't we?
Yeah, we've got some large marlin lures on the outriggers, maybe a tuna will eat those as well. And on the inside rods, we've got bibulus minnows and deep running lures. So whatever comes along, it could be chaos.
And just to add to the chaos, we've also got casting lures. So once we hook up and we've stopped the boat, we can throw these metal lures out and rapidly retrieve them as well. We should be able to get into some real mayhem today if we can find a couple of schools of these fish.
The director's going to love this one.
Well, this is only a little fish. Little tuna of some sort, I'd say. It's hit quite a large lure. Yeah, it's a little skipjack. Now these things are found throughout the oceans of the world. They're one of the most prolific of the tuna species. Skipjack tuna, until fairly recently in Australia, better known as striped tuna. And you can see why, the stripes there on the belly. Beautiful iridescent purples on the back. And these things are eaten by just about every large predatory fish in the sea, from sharks to big tuna to marlin and wahoo. They're the reason we're fishing this area. The top of this seamount attracts a lot of fish like this. They come here to eat the really small bait fish, and the big predators that we're after come to chase fish like this skipjack. So we're on the right track. Woo, look at him going.
A little tacker, but gee, that's still a great colour.
Must have been a couple
Whoa,
there, eh? Because I think that other, the
yeah,
other outrigger got hit as well.
There was a hit on that right outrigger. Whoa!
Tell you what, there was a hit on this just then while we were...
Real acrobats, aren't they?
Look at that in that blue water. What a beautiful fish. Oh, they are just like a neon light, and they can change their colours so quickly. These dolphin fish are one of the fastest growing fish in the sea. This little fish is probably only, definitely less than a year old, and they can grow to 15, 20 kilos in just a couple of years. The scientists think they've got a lifespan of probably only about 4 years, and they've got the potential to reach as much as 30 kilos or more in that time. Look at the blue there in the leading edge of the pectoral fins, and those little dots that are just haloed with bright blue. Fantastic fish. Too pretty to kill, actually. I think we'll pop this one back in the water, much as the crew would like to keep him and eat him. He's off like a shot. Now, usually where there's one of those, there's more. What do you reckon, Bushy?
I think mine's a little tuna, probably a little stripe or something.
Yeah, me too.
Skipjack, I'd say.
You got the heavier gear, you'll get yours in quicker, I think.
Well, let's see what happens. Feels like a striped tuna though. Come on.
See the silver flashes there, he looks great.
Yeah, I might leave him there for a minute. Something large might come and monster him. Come on, fish. I think I drew the short straw here, Steve. There's about 10 lures with hooks on here between me and that fish. This is what you call Thai roulette.
Pretty effective rig though, the old daisy chain, isn't it?
Yeah. All right, little jelly bean one. I'll give this to the crew, and they can put him away for some bait. Thanks, John.
Turning him upside down, quieten him down. Okay.
Just show you this daisy chain rig. I've made a bit of a mess of it here, but the way this works is that many of these tuna are following along and they're used to attacking bait fish in a school. So what this does, there's a whole lot of little squids here tied onto our trace, all with hooks, and they look more natural. They look like a whole school of little fish, and that's much more likely to make the tuna come up and attack them. And if you're after bait, half a dozen tuna at a time is much better than one. So it's a good little trick, the daisy chain. just be really careful when you're pulling them in because you can hook yourself. That's the only detriment with that rig.
Well, here's mine, Bushy.
Right.
And I'm using an interesting rig here too. It's working on the same kind of principle of trying to create the impression that there's a lot of things happening there. This is called a bird teaser. As you can see, it's got little wings, looks a bit like a bird, and it flutters along on the surface, makes a real commotion and imitates other fish feeding or whatever. Just creates a lot of excitement. And about 2 metres behind it, 2.5 metres behind it, is one of these jet head lures with a chrome metal head and a skirt and a single hook. And as you can see, the little skipjack tuna has nailed that. He's probably been initially attracted by the skittering of that bird teaser, and then he spotted the little pink squid racing along behind it, and without any hesitation at all, he's hit it. Things are definitely starting to happen out here. I like to see bait like this in the area. I reckon we're in with a good showing here, Bushy.
Yep. Any luck, the next one will be a big one.
Sailfish, I got a good look at it. Woo! Oh, look at him go! Okay, go back slowly. That's it.
That's more like it, Steve.
Oh boy. It's all happening here, folks. Pretty sure this is a big sailfish. It could be a marlin, but I got a pretty good look at it when it hit the lure and came out of the water. And I think it's a rather large sailfish. You can hear it taking line. We're clearing all the other lines. Once we get everything clear, I can get to work on this fish.
What a beauty. Woohoo! That is a thumper, Steve.
Where's he hooked? Top of the head.
That's a tricky one.
Oh no, just caught up, he's lassoed in the trace. It's a very big sailfish.
That is a big sail.
Oh, yeah,
no,
no,
he's right through the
big.
mouth on one side.
He's lassoed himself, which is, he may not be all that well hooked, Bushy.
He's hooked through the mouth, okay?
Yeah.
One hook's all right.
Bushy is get his tail this way.
If I can.
Woo! Let go, Bushy!
Let it go. He's away, that stirred him up.
That's what you've got to watch for. As soon as Bushy grabbed hold of the leader, the fish came to life and took off. Bushy let go of the leader and it came flying out of the water. It's hooked in the mouth and actually got a turn of the leader around the top of its head and through its dorsal fin. And now it's playing up a bit. Okay, you can see the top of the trace or leader coming out of the water there now. That's the swivel. We've only got about a 2 metre leader. There we go. He's finally rolled on his side for the first time. Shows he is getting a bit tired. Bushy's got the leader. He'll let it go if he has to. Got the fish here beside the boat. Got to be a little bit careful of their bill here. Watch him, Bushy.
I'm watching.
That bill is very sharp. And you don't want to get in front of it when one of these things jumps. Right, now we're going to quickly lift him up on the side and show him to you.
Oh, big one.
It's a very big sailfish. Roll him that way, guys, and I'll lift the sail. Now you can see that the leader did split his fin here. That's an injury that he will recover from. There's been many sailfish tagged and released with splits in their fins and recovered. He's in good condition. He's a big, long sailfish. Look at the bars and everything here. Let's get him back in the water and swim him for a little bit, Bushy. Now what we're doing is swimming this fish, getting the water going through his gills again. He's pretty tired. Got that split fin, but he's okay. He's not bleeding profusely. His tail's going. As soon as John thinks that he's okay, he's just going to let him go and he'll take off. It's amazing how many fish have been tagged in this condition and recovered a year, 2 years, 3 years later. They've got remarkable powers of recuperation.
I think he's ready.
Okay, mate, send him on his way.
See you.
And down he dives.
We're there.
Well, that's what it's all about, an Andaman Sea sailfish. And what beautiful conditions to catch one in. Worked up a little bit of a sweat, but I tell you what, I'm pretty happy.
few tailor working along the beach?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice tailor.
Yeah.
Yeah. Plenty of dart.
We're looking for a few swallowtail.
Cabarita, Cabarita, Cabarita. I love to wander down the shores and fish for dart.
That's terrible.
Bert Newton would have gonged me in about 1974 with about a 33 with Frank Wilson there on the New Faces. But quite seriously, this is Cabarita Beach. Now, it's just south of Tweed Heads and Coolangatta twin towns on the border of New South Wales and Queensland. And Bushy, our man up here, Gary Prerost, reckons if we came down just on the run-in tide, we'd catch a dart. Have you ever had a dart before?
That sounds like a leading question. You might have to catch the darts. I'm going to have a go at the tailor. I'm going to throw this pilchard out there and hope a big one comes along.
Well, a big one or a small one. The moustache and the old beard are fishing together, and that's what mateship's all about. Cabarita, Cabarita, how I love you. Well, folks, what I like doing is using natural baits, and there's no more natural bait than the use off the beaches of northern New South Wales than a beach worm. I've got the extended Paternoster rig, and all the best to Bert Paternoster's family. He left a fantastic legacy behind in that beautiful extended rig. And this is a typical northern New South Wales beach. A big surf from an anti-cyclone that's been going around there for a couple of days. We're after dart and tailor. It's quite a decent sort of a surf here, and people say, what are you doing in a crowd? We want to get away. Well, the most important thing is it's no good being where the fish ain't. All the fish are congregated in one hole. We've got a big left-hand drift. So I've had to put 4 ounces in the old scull on. And I tell you what, I can feel a pretty hot session coming on. And I hope I'm right, folks, because don't touch that dial. I'm not stingy, folks. We'll put a little bit of worm on again. And that's what I like about the bait shops up here. They give you worms and worms and worms and worms and worms, and they give you worms. I tell you what, folks, that's what I call value for money. It's just great fun.
Waiting.
I've got a big side drift here today. And just had a touch then. I've got a beach worm on. Bushy's fishing with a, well, people call them muleys in the west, but they're Western Australian pilchards. There's a lot of tailor out there. The birds are starting to work. And I'm after dart. And I just had another bite then. They might be small fish, and got him that time. So the water is about 21 degrees Celsius. This is a very good example for beach fishermen right around the continent, that if you get into a group, you actually then congregate the fish. You congregate the fish and they become very competitive. Now, I've just got a double header small dart here coming in, and that's very good, because this means that it's a very good food chain. Now, while these dart, well, they're called dart because they dart around, and because of their shape, their swallowtail also, is the fact there's no legal size limit. They have some armory right there, as Noel will show you, just in front of their dorsal fin. I use long shank hooks so I can easily take out the hook, give them a kiss and put them back. So let's just do that again. There he is, the dart. They come bigger than that, mind you. These are juveniles. And it's with the long shank hook, just being able to take it out like that, give it a kiss and throw it back. So there you are, folks. A double header first cast. I think we're in for a fantastic time. Stick around.
Well, we've got something here. The lightly weighted WA pilchard thrown out into a bit of a hole in the surf. Got to be a little chopper, is it? Just a little chopper. That's what we came for, only we'd like some a little bit larger than that one. But aren't they beautiful fish? Silvery. When they get a bit bigger, they've got a nice green backs. They call them greenbacks. That one's a bit smaller than what we want, but it's not a bad start. We'll have another ping out there with a pilly. See if we can get a bigger one. Now, a lot of people have trouble putting on a 4-hook rig onto a pilchard, and we use the 4 hooks because it's a very soft bait, and when the tailor come along, they're likely to grab it in the back end of the bait, and that means if we've got hooks right through it, lots more chance to hook the fish. Also keeps the bait on well. So the big trick here is we measure first with our hooks so that the top hook goes right through his eye. And then what you do is press down on the rear hook so that it makes a little dint in your bait. Now, when you've got that little dint, that's where you start to thread the bait. You put the hook right through that little dint, the rear hook, spin it round, and then you just follow up the bait like a little pin cushion. Go in there, spin that hook around, go up there like that, and if we've done it properly, which we have, that last hook will go right through his eye. Now that means that our bait is nice and straight, it'll track through the water really well, and it'll also stay on well, and we've got every chance to hook a fish with a bit of luck. I'll throw it out there and see what happens.
The most important thing here to remember is that we have a side drift from right to left, and therefore a lot of people sort of use star seekers in Victoria and just anchor their bait. This gutter that runs probably 2 or 3 kilometres along here will hold a big lot of fish. That's why I always cast to the right and allow the wash to take the rig around into this particular gutter, and then the fish grab it, and if they don't, well, what I do is I just wind in and cast up again there like Bushy is over there. That's the secret, is adjust your technique to the conditions and you can't go wrong. That dog's barking out there at the swallowtail. Quite an amazing thing. Oh, gee whiz, I tell you what, these fish are very, very good. Oh, come up here, he's in that wave. Whoa. And with this light gear, you have to make some allowances, but gee, the fun is fantastic. It teaches you how to angle. And so many people go dangling, and the real thing is actually got to be able to angle. And angling is playing the fish. Now, when the drag takes over, it means that the line has reached its breaking strain. And many times I've said to you folk that breaking strain is that time when the angler's patience has run out. And therefore, the rod acts as a shock absorber. I'm sure Noel can get his camera lens on that and show you that when the fish pulls, you shouldn't pull. But I can still put enough pressure on this particular fish, and there's only one on at this stage, and it's not a bad fish actually. I can put enough pressure on this fish to just be able to bring him in there now. Now, I don't know how big that is, but I would think that a lot of people would think that that is a fair-sized dart. The swallows of the sea. But I tell you what, there's nothing better. Mid-morning, a brisk 2-kilometre walk, catching the fish, kissing it, and then doing another kilometre walk out there. Look what I'm talking about, folks. Look where the ocean is at the moment. But Noel and Granny, you better stay there with my producer, because if you come out here, you'll end up in the drink. This is Rex Hunt's Fishing Adventures, and I hope you're enjoying it. Folks, today we're on part of the Tweed River system here on the border of New South Wales and Queensland with Gary Prerost. A few of you might remember we did a show here with Gary a while back, and he was the man that got us out of the proverbial when the weather actually did a job on us. Gary, welcome to the show again.
Thanks, Rex.
Now, congratulations, you've been asked to come again, and you must be absolutely delighted, because if you were no good, we would have given you the flick.
No, I appreciate it, Rex.
Well, we appreciate it too, and
we're after garfish today, and you might like to explain the habits of the river garfish of this area.
Yep, sure. Rex, we're fishing.
G'day, mate. Thanks a lot.
We're fishing in the Terranora arm of the Tweed River.
Yep.
We've got the last couple of hours of the running tide. We've had a big school of river garfish here for the last month now. We've got a good burley trail going, and we're fishing with a bit of prawn. You get a touch there, Rex?
Yeah, I did, and I used an old trick I used as a kid down on the Mentone Pier. Just a little bit of a retrieve.
Yep.
And look at that. What a beautiful looking garfish. Now, he's got something wrong with his snout. And what I usually do is I grab them by the snout if I'm going to release them. And these are fantastic to eat, fellas and girls and kids. And also very, very good bait. But you've got to also understand that his particular nose is broken, so this one is actually going to go into the frying pan. And I'll just put him over there out of his misery. And there we go. Now, let's have a look at the garfish setup. I've got a float that I designed many, many years ago. And a lot of people down in Victoria would have remembered me talking about a guy called Alec Rowe. I used to make these at school, and the school teacher at Morty High said, "You don't want to make fishing floats, Rex, because you'll never be anything in your life, and above all, you'll never make a living out of fishing and football." Well, thank you very much there, Mr. Butler. Down to a sinker which keeps the float upright, and then I've got a couple of snoods, one about nearly a metre long, the other one about half a metre long. And if you keep them divided from the swivel, you'll find they won't get tangled. Now, this is one of the best baits I've got here. This is a river prawn, available at any bait shop up and down the coast. You buy them frozen, and I cut them up in tiny little pieces. Now, a lot of you who actually have caught the garfish know that their mouth is above their snout. But what I do is I like to use a long shank number 12 hook and put the tiniest piece of bait on. I'll just show you again. A tiny little piece of bait about the size of a pea. And that is the essence. Know the fish you're going after. Know their characteristics. They're mid-water or surface feeders, so you have a float. You keep the burley going, and you feed them little pieces of prawn. Sandworm is very, very good. Just a little piece of dry bread at a time is very, very good. And you can adjust your float to their depth, and then you can start thinking about a nice fish like I just put in the corner over there. I'm going to have him for tea tonight. Gary, that's the world's biggest garfish.
I think it's a brim, Rex.
You often get that, do you?
Oh, well, he's come up into the burley trail, I'd say.
And that's what the burley trail's all about, talking about that. We'll just keep it going there. Just keep the little bits of tasty morsels going down.
Yeah, it's a little brim, Rex.
A little brim. Not so little. Just lift it in, mate. I tell you what, look at that. There you go. Now, that's a serious brim. On a tiny piece of prawn.
Thanks, Rex.
Isn't that fantastic? Now, oh, I had a touch then. I would call that a yellowfin brim.
Yep, you'd be right.
Beautiful, beautiful brim.
Might let him go, though.
Oh,
you got one?
Yeah, I don't know what I've got. I don't think it's a brim. I reckon it's a garfish. I reckon it could be a double header.
It is too.
But look at that. Now, isn't that fantastic, folks? A double header gar. Now, I might try and put this one back, and what we do is we just grab them by the snout like that, because if you grab them down here, they'll lose all that vital slime and also the scales. So that's the way you hold a garfish. The old little red knobby on the end there, a bit of a peck, and he can go back. I'll just do it for you again. And that's why I use the long shank hooks, so that they can give you something to grab hold of when you want to release them. Now that hook is in a lot further, so he's going to join, I would think, the other one over there as part of my tea tonight. And therefore, what I can do is just show you, if I go like that and put the garfish out of his misery, and that's what I'm talking about. There's all these scales in that. So what we have to look for the future in fishing is the correct way to release fish so they've got a really good chance of survival. Oh, yes.
Yeah, it is, Rex.
Garfish.
Yeah.
Now that's a serious garfish.
That's not bad at all, is it?
When's the best time of the year for them?
Oh, I like them now, Rex.
Do you?
Yeah, and the early winter, and it's the river's nice and quiet. And
A great bread and butter fish, a
Oh.
good starting point for a kid, isn't it?
yeah, they're pretty little fish though, aren't they?
They are pretty little fish. What I used to do, folks, fish on the Mentone Pier in the year of the last Melbourne Olympics in 1956. I had hair and no roof over the tool shed. And I used to sort of slowly just watch all of these older anglers, and one thing common is when they allowed their float and rig to go out with the drift, they slowly brought it back against the current with a slow retrieve. And I reckon if there's anything that will knock off an interested predator like the garfish on a little bit of prawn or a little bit of sandworm, it's certainly a garfish.
Oh,
Look at that. And they're fighting furies, aren't they? If they ever got 160 kilo, I tell you what, it'd be like a junior marlin. And I tell you what, that is a different species to what we've been getting. That is a river garfish. He's more of a barrel in himself. He's still got the red snout. The last couple I've seen have been genuine sea garfish. Bushy gets them down at Maribia, the big red knob on the end of their nose. But these are the genuine river garfish. And I don't want to hurt you, mate, because I'd like you to swim again for me in front of the camera. We'll probably see you next year somewhere in the wonderful world of fishing. There it are, beautiful little garfish. And off you go. And there he goes. Put our rig right in the middle of fish like this. And I tell you what, once you get the depth right on that float, which is coming up now, you can start. Now look at this, Gary. Now,
a
tell you
double header,
what,
Rex.
Look at that. The old Tasmanian special, mate. Now have a look at that. Two magnificent garfish, folks. And if you'll just excuse me, I'm going to kiss these straight back into that frying pan, because tonight the old garfish goes on the bearded burbler's plate. We'd like to thank Gary Prerost of Mangrove Jack Charters. When you're up here on the border of New South and Queensland, give him a call. Thanks for being on the show, Gary, and I look forward to the next time.
Thank you, Rex.
This is Rex Hunt Fishing Adventures.